Guys, it's Kate here for my June wrap-up. I am looking forward to telling you guys all about the books that I read in the month of June. I will start out getting the negative book talk over with, and hopefully it won't be too negative, but those are some books that I DNF'd. And the first one that I DNF'd was The House of Mirth by Edith Wharton. I was just extremely intimidated going into this, and unfortunately it ended up being an intimidating read. I think it's not necessarily a DNF, but a book that I'm setting down for now, or I'm going to take a long time to read. I can't even make up what I think about Edith Wharton. This is just about New York society in 1905, yes, and Lily Bart, a woman who's trying to, work through the cogs of society, and there's a lot about kind of the hypocrisy that is there, and it just felt really emotionally distant and cold. And I don't mind lots of talk about like social outings and things, like I love Jane Austen, but there's some characters that I really feel a connection to when I read Jane Austen. So I have not yet decided exactly what I'm going to be doing about the House of Mirth, but I will keep you guys posted about that. And then the next book that I was really disappointed that I ended up DNFing it, but that was The Beekeeper's Apprentice, or The Segregation of the Queen by Laurie R. King. This is the first in the Mary Russell series, and it's almost a Sherlock Holmes fan fiction where Sherlock Holmes is retired and he meets Mary Russell, and they end up sort of forming a partnership together. And it started out as a series of little vignettes, and then that was where I DNF'd it. But then I heard that it turned into more of an overarching storyline about halfway through, and I was doing this as a buddy read with Kate from the novel Nomad, Sarai from Sarai Talks Books, and Whitney from All the Shelves. And unfortunately, Whitney was the only one who finished it. The rest of us were just all like not all that enthusiastic about it. And unfortunately, I have my same gripe with this that I have with Sherlock Holmes, is that he is just such an intellectual snob, and he knows he's the most intelligent person in the room, and aren't I just so clever? And like, I get it, you're clever, but I hate that that takes up so much of the book. And so I would have maybe been willing to put up with that, but then since it was formed in all of these little vignettes, I didn't care about reading it. And I read so many mysteries that I have just gotten a lot more picky, because I can go into a mystery and know exactly, I know what I like. I know what I like in cozies, I know what I like in hard-boiled, and I just know when something isn't really going to jive with me. So I ended up DNFing it. I'm bummed that I didn't like it, but confident in my decision. Then on to the beach reading that I did, which I ended up getting more beach reading done than I thought I would, which I was really happy about, just because of it's not always as much free time as you think, and with a toddler, you don't know how much you're going to read, but I got some good reading done in there. And the first one that I read was The Babes in the Wood by Ruth Rendell, and this was one of the more atmospheric Wexford. I absolutely adored this, and there were so many passages that I underlined, and I just absolutely loved Ruth Rendell's writing. And this took place during a season of flooding in Kings Markham, which is where Inspector Wexford lives with his wife. And then in addition to that, during that time, there's a family, two parents that went away for the weekend to Paris, and when they came back, they went back to their house expecting to see their two teenagers and the wife's friend there watching the teenagers, and they were all gone and they didn't know where they were. So it is up to Inspector Wexford to find out where they are, and I really enjoy this. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts, you can look at my June mystery reading wrap-up, and I talk about that more. And then I got several hundred pages more of A Suitable Boy, and I can't tell you how much Hilary and I are enjoying this. We aren't all that coordinated with when we are caught up with the reading, but we're both really enjoying it, and it's going to be great when we both finish, and we're going to do a Google Hangout and eat Indian food together, and it's just going to be fabulous. So I am now on page 1134. So look at that, like look how much is done, and this is how much I have left. I'm home stretch home stretch. There are definitely some passages that I kind of have to like speed read through, the ones about politics, but there were some really interesting things about the history of India that I didn't know anything about before reading this, and it's just a very stimulating read. So I will be doing most definitely a full review video about this book. And then the other one that I read while at the beach, which was the perfect beach read and a great follow-up to Ruth Rendell. And this was definitely a more cozy one called Murder at the Brightwell by Ashley Weaver. The lovely Olive over at A Book Olive recommended this to me, and it was so much fun. It is about Amory Ames, whose husband she has a very rocky relationship with, and then when her ex-fiance Gilbert shows up and he wants her to come with him to this resort by the seaside and convince his sister that she should not be engaged to the man that he thinks she should not be engaged to. So Amory joins him, and there's lots of drama and intrigue, and then a murder. So this was just so much fun and such a great beach read because they're talking about looking at the beautiful ocean, and I was at the ocean, and so I'm really happy I saved it for that time. If you'd like to hear more thoughts about this, you can watch my mystery wrap-up. Then from the read-along that I am hosting, that is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot, and this is the first in the series. And unfortunately, I have not been that active on the Goodreads group that I'm supposed to be hosting, and I've just realized it feels like such a task to like sit down and type out all my thoughts, and I really don't like using Goodreads on my phone. It's just really, it takes a long time to like type on the keyboard. So I'm sorry I've not been that active on the Goodreads group, but a full review of this coming, and I enjoyed this even more the second time around. Then the next book that I finished, and I was really surprised at just how much I enjoyed this, and that is the first in the Kristen Labrensdatter series. This is by Secret Inset, and some of you who think maybe you're not familiar with this, if you know the Penguin Drop Caps collection, the purple book that is the letter U and it has like a very floral decorated U, that's this book here, the first in the series. So in case you were wondering, maybe you do know more about it than you thought. And this is just about the character of Kristen and her journey with love and her faith. And Secret Inset was a very devoted Catholic, so there's lots of imagery and symbolism in this, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was so romantic and atmospheric. It takes place in 1300s Norway, and it was absolutely beautiful. The translation is done by Tina Nunnally, and the thing is, it's not a very like flowery translation, but it was more the story that I was super excited about, so I didn't really care. There were some passages that were maybe more beautifully translated, but overall I think it's the story that just really carried this book for me. And you just see so much of Kristen's heart, and this is, I'm just going to tell you now, if you are just kind of, you think books that have lots of Christian imagery and symbolism and lots about people's faith are off-putting, you will not like this book. I absolutely adored it. I thought it was so romantic, and I mean that in the traditional sense of really intense emotions and intense events, and I just absolutely loved it, and I'm really looking forward to continuing on with it. Now, I do know from the events that happened in this one, I'm pretty sure the second volume is going to be pretty heartbreaking, but I just kind of want to speed through that second volume so then I can get to the third one. The second volume is called The Wife, and I want to get to the third one, which is called The Cross, so I'm sure there's going to be lots of redemption to do with Christ and, you know, imagery with that, and I think it will be absolutely beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to continuing on with this. Like I said, it was very romantic, and if you are subscribed to Hilary from yrrobotfriend, a few weeks ago she did a haul and she talked about Holly Exley, who is an artist who lives in England, and she linked a video she did about Beatrix Potter. I really loved the music on this video, and so then I looked it up, and she had linked the two artists who were on there, and I clicked on Kai Engel's SoundCloud page, and that ended up being the absolute perfect music to read for this. So if you are looking for music that is atmospheric and romantic and haunting, but also heartbreakingly beautiful, I really think you should try it out. I think it would be a really good mystery reading also, but very atmospheric. So that is linked down below along with Holly's video and Hilary's channel. All those things are great, and you should check them out. Then the next book that I read that just kind of killed my reading for about 2 weeks because it was so absolutely amazing was As I Lay Dying by William Faulkner. It took me about a week and a half to recover from this. It was so amazing. This is about the Bundren family in Mississippi, and Addie is passing away very shortly, and she has made it very clear to her family that she wants her body to be buried with her family in Jefferson. So they have to travel across the countryside in Mississippi and take her body back to her family. There is so much beautifully grotesque imagery in here, and it's just unlike anything I've ever read. It inspired me to start a whole new series on Game Changer books. So if you would like to hear me absolutely gush about William Faulkner, please visit that review. I really highly encourage, if you're going to try him, if you haven't read him, to do this as a buddy read. I read this with Stephanie from That's What She Read and Whitney from All the Shelves, and it made all the difference in the world and made this so much fun. And I'm just so happy that I finally did my first William Faulkner, because now he is I just know he's going to be one of my favorite authors, and it was such a good time. So yes, full of beautiful writing. I annotated out the wazoo while I was reading this. Then a book that I needed as a palate cleanser of sorts after reading William Faulkner was I Said Yes. My Story of Heartbreak, Redemption, and True Love by Emily Maynard Johnson. This was kind of as bad as I thought it was going to be. It was super fun and light. Emily was a contestant on The Bachelor, and then she was The Bachelorette, and this is just her talking about what happened on there. I read it in a total of like 3 hours, and it was a great, just, I need something light to read type book. And yeah, I don't know if I can really recommend this, but it was a fun, quick read. And then as a buddy read with Ange from Beyond the Pages, we read Summer Half by Angela Thirkle. This is the third in the Barsetshire series, and this one was fun. I just ended up not being quite as invested in it as I was before. I don't know. There were definitely some funny moments. I think just some of the characters I was kind of bored with, but it was definitely fun. And when I'm in the mood for Angela Thirkle, I really enjoy it, but I'm not always quite in the mood for her. So yeah, I'm not sure what I think of this. I think Wild Strawberries is still my favorite, but this was definitely enjoyable. And I will obviously be continuing because I really overall enjoy her books, and it definitely had some laugh out loud moments, and there was lots that took place in a boarding school, and it was interesting. Just maybe not my favorite Angela Thirkle thus far. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about all of those books, and yeah, just some that I really enjoyed, some not so much, and some somewhere in between. So if you have read any of those and would like to discuss them, please comment down below, and I hope you guys had a great reading month, and I look forward to seeing you guys for another video soon.